Hey guys, today's me, jamesdoesall, and today I want to talk to you guys about the hezebub house. And so, I watched this guys on Dr.Phil, and it basically just talked about this house that
I arrived at hezebub house when I was 15 years old. I was there for 29 months.
I got there August 1989. I stayed until November of 1990.
From November 2015 to March 2017.
We walked in and the lady shut the door and started locking several locks. And I just knew something was wrong.
The first thing you'll notice when you walk in the main door is instead of going upstairs, you go downstairs. We never lived anywhere else except that basement.
Everything was shuttered, every blind was shut. The windows were sealed. They had screws so you couldn't open them.
I knew right away that it had a very overwhelming and oppressive feel to it.
We were absolutely locked in.
I feel like there would have been more freedoms if I did go to the juvenile delinquency center that I was threatened with.
The very first day, the nurse came and took me into a closet where there was a bed. She tried to pull my dress up. I protested. She pulled my dress up anyways, and then this guy did a forced pelvic exam. I do know that it was all done against my will.
You couldn't go to the bathroom alone.
There were times that girls would have to wake up in the middle of the night to use the bathroom. A staff member would have a rollaway bed that they would sleep on right next to the bathroom. They were assigned times only to use the restroom. The girls that couldn't hold it and would wet their beds, they would really just be made a spectacle of. They would have to wear diapers.
The food at hezebub house was absolutely disgusting. We would have sprouts that had all these bugs in them. Gross.
The bread came in a box and it said on the side, bird feed.
I got put onto a work crew. It was hard labor, it really was.
We hung wallpaper, we laid tile, we built that fence around the back of the property.
We would be forced to clean the floor on our hands and knees with rags and bleach water. It would burn our eyes, it would burn our nose.
Pastor Ron Williams had 26 girls and he used them as free labor.
But it wasn't just bad food and nailed-down windows. These former students say there was far worse going on behind those doors.
The blue room was the punishment room. It is where we were paddled.
It was a big paddle, enough to that when I went downstairs, it was hard to sit, and I definitely had bruises.
The first 4 months I was there, I would say nearly every day I was paddled. It did slow down once they decided I was broken. A paddling would entail a girl laying on her stomach on the floor. A full-grown woman would straddle your legs, and a full-grown woman would sit on your back and hold your arms up, your face smashed into the carpet. The amount of times you were hit was dependent on what you'd done wrong. Sometimes it was 3, 7, 10. Usually after 10, they would stop and they'd get you up and they would pray and talk and yell at you. And then if they didn't think your attitude was changed, you went back down on the floor. You could end up having 30, 40 or more swats over a period of a couple hours.
Well, I'm glad you guys are here, and I know you want to talk about this because you don't want this happening to other people, right?
That's right.
So you want to shed a light on this. And I'll tell you, we reached out to Pastor Ron Williams, the founder and director of hezebub House in Indiana, and he respectfully declined the opportunity to participate today. He also adamantly denies that there's any abuse in this boarding school. He says that for 48 years, the ministry has received troubled teen girls from their custodial parents. And he says while some of their past students are now in full-time Christian service and are godly wives and mothers, others have gone back to their old way of life. So he says it works for some, doesn't work for others, but he denies any abuse whatsoever.
supposed to be Christian, but then it ended up completely not Christian. The teachers were very abusive to the girls that actually entered, and the so-called Williams actually beat them, and they also beat all of the girls, they wanted control and power over the girls. So the girls were never like let outside. And if a girl spoke, they were like beaten, or if they did not comply or anything like that, they were beaten, and they were never taken outside. They were always sad. Were always looked upon as the rebels, which is really, really sad. And I want to shed a light on how that is not Christian, not at all. Like, literally, it's not what God wanted for us. And if a Dr. Phil documentary, even said that they beat a 1-year-old baby, and then the girl was scarred for life because of that, or one of the girls. So, because it was a Catholic school that abused a lot of women, and it's very sad. And I want to clearly state that is not a part of who God is or what he does. Abusing women or beating them with a rod or God, something like that, that's just absurd. That is nothing that God wants us to do. He wants to love one another, and feel that what those people did, they twisted love and made it into pain and suffering for these poor, torturous souls who endured so much during their stays. They were just allowed to clean, cook, and they were scared because they could have been spanked. They didn't really talk to their parents, and they kind of all of the people kind of read the emails, and if they found something they didn't like, and then they basically told them to write it again.
Were you told to lie to your parents in letters and
Yes.
communications?
Absolutely.
They didn't say lie to your
Right.
parents. They said, you have to write this kind of a letter.
Well, here's what they said about that. The girls are allowed and even encouraged to be honest in their letters home. The only requirement is that they be honest in what they are saying, even if they wish to complain, but it has to be the full truth. Letters have always been monitored, and every parent who brings their daughter knows this rule and consents to it. Supervised calls 1 time a month, visit every 3 months. This is accurate. Again, parents agree to this when they bring their daughter. If they said they wanted to go home, they ended the visit with their parents. This does not sound right. We are not aware of this. And so what they're saying is, oh no, you can complain to your parents in the letters,
Nope.
but you just have to tell the truth.
Nope.
And I guess
Their
they
truth.
decide what's the truth.
Yes.
Yes,
Right.
thank you, sir.
That's
It's
it.
their truth.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me how that worked.
I observed my mom reading those letters my whole growing up years. And I remember many a time she would yell down over the intercom. That sound familiar? And, so-and-so, and you need to redo your letter. Because there was something in there. I watched my mom do that multiple times as a young man. And it was their version of the truth.
And additionally, when our letters would come in from our family, they would be read. And then if there was something that
It
the
was
staff,
blocked out with a black marker.
right, they
I
thought it
watched
was
it done.
inappropriate, they'd cross it out before
Yep.
we got our letter.
Yep.
So they were censored,
Yeah.
Very much so.
so you couldn't communicate back and forth.
Yes.
My father would write me, and he was a big sports fan, and so I'd get these letters that would have 3 sentences that weren't blocked out because
Right,
he
'cause
wasn't
sports
allowed
were
to
wrong.
talk about
Yep.
sports.
Movies were wrong.
Yep.
There was an allegation that there were alarms if you moved too much in bed or got up, and they said this is true. There are alarms set at night to prevent girls from running and doing unethical things among each other during the night.
We had pads on our bed when I was there, so if we rolled around too much, all of the lights in the basement would wake every single girl up because somebody was rolling around too much.
And there's also concealed microphones in the ceilings. They can hear even a whisper.
Really?
I installed them as a teenage boy.
You have to understand, these beds are this close together, 3 high, well, maybe this close. What do you think?
Yeah, they're very close.
Enough space for a wardrobe.
The girls were paddled every day.
Former Hepzibah House students speak out about spanking punishments.
You're laid face down and somebody hold your arms and legs.
A big heavy chair placed over your head.
To protect the girls from getting hurt.
That's okay with you.
They explained to me in detail why they did what they did.
You have 2 master's degrees in psychology, and because someone tells you that's why they're doing it, then you just assume that's why they're doing it?
Well, clearly you don't believe in spanking.
Oh, hell no.
New Dr. Phil.
And it's very sad with these limits, though. And there was also limits of not talking about sports, not watching TV, music. Music is just like always sin in the church. And, you know, there are some non-Christian things about some artists, I would assume. Maybe, I don't know. But I generally think that there should always be a like, you know, clearly, like, I watch to YouTube, you know, I listen to music and, like, we'll have fun over it. And for somebody to, like, not experience fun and to basically be forced to read the Bible, it's not nice. Like, the Bible and Christianity is an option that we gotta take for ourselves, you know? Like, nobody told me to be Christian. Well, my school taught, but still, or encouraged it, I should say. I decided to take the path on my own. Therefore, I love the choosing of paths and the fact that they really, like, just forced these girls to smile while reading the Bible. It's like, what? I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm happy, and happy when I first forgot, but smiling. And, you know, like, you know, we can never really smile. Like, sometimes, like, I cry when I pray to God, not because I'm bad, but definitely because there's tears of joy in me, and I love to pray to God and be Christian, and I wish upon these girls healing and health only, and happiness only, and for good to always overcome evil. And all the things that they did in that school were not of God's word. God is of love, not hate. And when you beat a child, or when you abuse people, when you literally do not allow them to do anything, watch TV, no music, nor nothing, just means there that you are going to be beaten, and all of that. And those girls were called as the rebels for a reason. They always, like, rebelled. They didn't do what everybody said, and therefore they were known as the rebels. And it's just so very sad, because those girls were like teenagers, you know? And the teenagers aren't known for they're mostly known for their rebellion most times, and, you know, not true with all, but clearly with some, and rebellion and hate and evil is not part of God. However, we should fight hate with kindness and love. That's what I truly believe. And as long as we love one another, the hate goes away for everything. So, therefore, keep my advice, guys, and love one another as God's children. Okay, and whatever your child chooses, accept him for who or her, who she is, what she wants to do for the future, and all of that, okay? Because that's the really important thing, quite honestly, and, you know, definitely encourage Christianity and not force. There's clearly some difference in these things, and do all things with good kindness and respect, guys. And I really hope I was able to shed some bright light in some circumstances in some countries. I know that not all schools are like this, and there are good Christian schools, but, you know, this one appeared on Dr. Phil, and I clearly wanted to state that that church is not a part of God. Or actually, no, not church, school. That school is not a part of God. And any school or church that that encourages violence, beating, abuse of women, not letting them go outside. I mean, Jesus protected so many women back in those days that if Christians behave like this, it just makes him sad, and I cannot stand making God sad. I just can't, because I love him so much. I don't want him to ever be sad. I really want him to be happy and hope for the best and for the future. And I hope all of these poor people healing, love, and kindness with all of the themes. And I hope the traumas are never to be dealt with again. Nobody should have to suffer through that. Never, ever, ever. And I clearly know that their son has also been abused. And, he was beaten and he didn't really have a nice childhood. And to him I say that I am so sorry. Nobody should have experienced such like a trauma. And, very clearly he's grown into a man who loves and respects people, and hopefully he'll be a good leader in the next hezebub house, and he will be nice, kind, and respectful towards other people, and not consider anybody as the enemy or the rebel. The rebel and the enemy is Satan, but we fight Satan with love, kindness in our hearts, and no temptation, certainly not. Because there's one thing that Satan hates, and that's light, love, and respect for everybody else. And, it certainly is very nice that we can all come as a community and, definitely not tell anybody that they're a sinner, and that we should all fight and hope to be one unity of Christianity together, of course. And I love you guys very much. Thank you for being a part of my life since I was like age 7. I think that's when I started doing YouTube. Like and subscribe. Bye, guys.